tender bed. Take the road, mama. You run 40 miles a day. Well, I take the road, mama. You run 40 miles a day. If I take this road much longer, might as well dig my own grave. I got gray cloud above me, black mud below. Worked so hard, ain't got time to spend with you. Gray cloud above me, black mud down below. Well, I worked so hard, ain't got no time to spend with you. Well, the trees are shaking and the rain feels like lead. Can't wait to get home to your bed. Trees are shaking, rain feels like lead. Then when you get home to your warm and tender bed. Someday, baby, gonna leave this town. Ain't gonna stand to be pushed around. Someday, baby, gonna leave this town. Ain't gonna stand to be pushed around. Make love to you. I don't want you be no slave. I don't want you work all day. I don't want you to say the blue. I just wanna make love to you. I can tell by the way that you baby talk. I can see by the way that you switch and walk. I can tell by the way that you treat your man. But I can love you, baby. It's a crying shame. I don't want you wash my clothes. I don't want you keep a home.
Well, good evening. My name is Greg. The show is Rocket Science, and you're tuned into WNTI 91.9 FM, Centenary College in Hackettstown, New Jersey. And also, proud to say, we are back on WNTI.org, and a special hello to all those listeners tonight. Let me go over what we heard. We opened up with Black Cat Bones, Sylvester's Blues, and that's from a 70 LP Barbed Wire Sandwich. And just after that, we heard a couple from Foghat. They're also classic, I Just Want to Make Love to You, from their first LP. And we heard Jump That Train from the reunion of the original members done back in '94, Return of the Boogeyman. And it is my pleasure to introduce a special guest tonight on the phone from New Hampshire, Mr. Rod Price, formerly of Foghat. Rod, you out there?
I'm right here, Greg.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm not in New Hampshire right now, though.
Oh, you're not? Where are you?
I don't know. No, I'm not in New Hampshire. No, I'm in Roanoke, Virginia right now. We're setting up a tour for next year, so that's why I'm down here. But I do live in New Hampshire. Yes, you are right.
Oh, well, okay.
Yeah.
First off, before I go any further, if that lovely lady Linda is anywhere near you, please give her a hug, a kiss, or just tell her thank you for doing what she does.
Well, she's done a wonderful job, and I thank you, and I will. Will thank her for that. She's been asking to help for years, and I've been saying no for years, and then she started doing it on her own, and she's been doing such a great job. So, and that's how we met up, in fact. So we're getting some good stuff done, and as I say, we're getting ready for a January, February tour.
Yeah. Well, you might be heading our way. I'm told.
Oh, it will be.
Yeah, that's good. You're talking to the people at the Stanhope House, I hear.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Oh, exciting stuff. And you have a. I almost got it right. I just missed it by a day, but brand new, West 4.
West 4, yeah. That's the album that. Sort of my dream album in a way. I've been wanting to do it for years. I've been doodling with pieces of it for years. I got a great deal of help from Tom Dawes, my producer, who worked on two of the Foghat albums, on the Energized and the Rock and Roll album, and he produced the Open album. And when he heard some of the roughs that I had done for the West 4, he offered to help setting up demos, and then I started working with a guy by the name of Kenny Landrum, who also played keyboards on Open. And in between tours and stuff, we get a little bit down. And I think, funnily enough, this album wasn't really ready to be done until now, because although I had the songs in my head and in my heart, I didn't have them in my fingers. Uh-huh. I think I needed the maturity to reach this point to be able to do that album. And we were going to zip you down a copy, and unfortunately a certain postal service.
Yeah, I was thinking of slamming them too, but I'll be nice.
A certain postal service said, "Yes, sir, it will be there by," and actually it was there by. It was in Roanoke, but it wasn't in my grubby little hands.
Yes.
So, but I tell you what we'll do, since you've been so kind here, we'll get a couple of cuts off to you anyway.
Oh, well, thank you.
And that'll kind of give a little flavor of what's coming. We're in negotiation right now. You've heard that story before.
Right.
So, but we're hoping to get it out pretty soon. That was what I was doing basically last summer, and we're all done and mastered and everything else. So I'm very excited about it, because it's gave me the opportunity to use all of the musicians that I wanted to, and as many as I wanted. That's why it took such a long time, because we got horns on there, we got choirs on there.
Really? Is Shaky Vic with you on this one too?
No, not that one. The premise behind the first solo album,
Open.
Yeah, Open, was that the first blues band I was in was with Shaky Vic. That was back, 66 or something.
Was Chris Yulden in it at that time too?
No. Well, it's funny you should mention that. No, he wasn't officially in the band, but he did come round.
Yeah.
And Well, I can tell you a story about Chris right now if you want.
I would love to. You have such a fascinating story, Rod. I mean, you were right there in the thick of it, the British blues, which is my love. And
yeah, it truly was an amazing time, and it's only in the last few years, I think, that I've really appreciated what was going on there.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it was like we hadn't heard, nobody'd heard anything like that before, and on top of that, it was, even the people that were playing it hadn't hardly heard it before, you know. But the first story I remember about Chris, and I find it's a very fascinating story. But the very first rehearsal we had with Shaky Vic's Big City Blues Band in someone's living room, you know what I mean?
yeah,
And you know, there was this guy sitting in the corner not saying anything, and then, you know, at the end, Shaky said, you want to do a number? And I thought, you know, who the heck's this guy? Chris got up and started singing, and I was, like, just blown away. As you can imagine, you know, I was a young kid, but I tell you, every time that Chris, because we're all on the same circuit,
right.
every time that Chris sat in, I played 3 times better, because he was so inspirational.
Yeah, well, Kim Simmons would probably agree with you there.
I would hope so.
Yeah, he's just remarkable. The singer, actually.
Yeah,
yes.
it was just so natural for him. You know, that's the thing. It wasn't forced. He just had a real passion for the blues, like most of us did. But he just had that magnificent, what can you say, magnificent voice.
Yeah, and you really are a blues man, because you know, I'm listening to. I can't wait to hear West 4, because that is all your original cuts.
That's right. Yeah.
And the open, it's all like great blues standards you got here, except for one song, which is Dynaflow, which happens to be my favorite song on the album.
Oh,
so
really?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to more of that.
Well, you know, one little thing I must say about the open album, you know, which was received very well.
Oh, it's an excellent album.
I'm pleased to say, but there was one person who. I should mention this just because I want to get it off my chest, Greg, and since I got 2 hours, I figure I might as well use this time.
Yes,
Is that
do.
okay?
Oh, do it.
All right. No, there was one review that some guy wrote up on one of the CD Nows and something and said, you know, oh, great, another generic blues album.
Ha!
And what got me was that what we had written on the inside and what we had wanted to do to the best of our ability was to recreate what we were doing in the 60s, but never had the opportunity to do. And you know, I had no qualms about doing an album full of standards that were mother's milk to me. You know, I mean, that was what got me going. So I had to do that album. That album had to be done, you know, as much as the West 4 had to be done. And so goodness knows what's coming after that. But I feel very confident about pretty much everything these days. And I mean, I'm even looking forward to other projects that keep popping into my mind. I kind of had a blank space after West 4 because it really took about 6 years to do altogether.
Really?
Well, writing and putting a bit down here, and then, you know, there was touring and stuff. And so when I'd finished it, it was really funny. In fact, the day we finished it in the studio, Tom Dawes said, and the engineer sort of was sitting there, Paul Orofino, and they just said, yay, you know, this is the last bit of mix done, and everybody's like smiling and everything, and it's great. And they said, you know, so they look over at me, and I'm like looking really glum. And they said, what's up? And I said, I have no idea. And Tom Dawes said, postpartum. And it was, because you know, this thing I had been not wrestling with it, but, you know, just thinking it for over 6 years. So it was, you know, when it was done, it was just an amazing weight off my shoulders, and, you know, I can sit and listen to it with great pride. So you believe me, I want, you know, the fans to hear it big time, you know. So we'll get something out.
Where have you recorded that? Was it all?
I recorded the last 2 albums at Millbrook Sound, which is upstate New York.
Uh-huh.
And that is owned by Paul Orofino, who does just a magnificent excuse me, does a magnificent job of engineering and hospitality, and it's one of those studios where you can sleep there.
Yeah.
You know, you got 4 bedrooms and a kitchen. Excuse me, I'm just getting over the flu here. Oh. 4 bedrooms and a kitchen and a great studio, and so I'd work with him any time. He's just a great engineer.
Your first album was on Bearsville Records. Now that was out of Woodstock up there. Is that right?
Yeah, right. You mean the first Foghat album?
Yes.
Yeah. That was.
Was that a similar setup with the? I just got this image in my head that everybody was hanging out, and was it like that?
Yeah, it was at Woodstock. Although we weren't. I don't think we were very accepted up there at the time because it was it was sort of hippie central in one way, or at least hippie central east.
Hippie snobs. Oh my God!
And they let's see, who was the people that were living up there at the time were Bob Dylan and the band.
Right.
And the band were quite social with us. Never spoke to Bob, but I don't think Bob spoke to many people at all anyway. So, and although, you just reminded me though, but one thing that did happen great up there was had some absolute killer jams with Paul Butterfield.
Oh my God, yeah.
And I tell you, it was at a time in my life where, you know what I mean, it was almost surreal.
Yeah, it was outside looking in. You didn't know what was happening. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was, and it's interesting that I seem to treasure it more now than I did then, because at the time it was like, oh my God, I'm playing with Paul Butterfield, and so there were wonderful times up there.
Well, you have such a fascinating story, like I said, and just a remarkable resume. And I want to get people up to date on what you're doing. Recently we were talking about that guy, talking about blues standards and just being somewhat flip about it. And I think after we hear this version of The Stumble, that we'll see how silly that guy really was. So this is from the most recent, well, I could say most recent, because West 4 is not technically out yet.
Not technically out, no. The interesting thing about The Stumble, if I may,
yes,
is that when I took a break in the 80s, I wanted to sort of redirect my music or actually get more back to my blues roots. And the funny thing was that was the first thing I attempted, and as you know, Freddie King did it on regular guitar. And I thought, well, if you can get this damn thing down on slide, good for you. And of course, I'm still trying to improve it every night, but it came out pretty good.
Yeah, well, I think you know a thing or two about the slide guitar there, Rod.
A smidge. Yeah.
Well, special guest tonight is Rod Price, former Foghat guitar player, slide guitar. I would say. Genius, but that's just my opinion. Give this a listen. This is from his most recent Open, The Stumble.
Thank
Yeah, ho hum. Just another blues standard album, huh? Rod Price, Open is the name of the album, and The Stumble. Outstanding, Rod. That's very interesting.
Thank you.
Now, you have a deep affection for the blues, as we were talking about before, and
Yeah.
I often read that, that's what drew you and Lonesome Dave together, that you said,
Oh, yeah.
the quote was, that I read, was, anybody who likes Elmore James, and I forget who the other guy says, has to be all right, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very good point, Greg, because that was the common bond. You know, we used to play around the same blues clubs in London.
How long did you know him before you joined Fog? You joined Foghat in 72, I guess?
71.
71, yeah.
Yeah, 72 was when it first came out.
Okay.
But, yeah, what did you say? It was interesting the way you phrased it. How long did I know him?
Had you known him before you joined?
Well, yeah, you know, there's no and no, and it was more like, you know, we'd sort of run into each other. I occasionally, he'd call me up to sit in with one of his bands that he couldn't make a gig for, and we knew each other on a very light basis, as did most of the musicians at that time.
That's funny. I had John Mayall as a guest earlier this year and asked him, you know, he said everybody knew everybody, is how he put it.
Well, everybody did know everybody. There's no doubt about that, because it was such a small community, but not necessarily, you know,
Friends, yeah.
Friends that sort of went over and had tea and crumpets every day, you know. But everybody, yeah, I mean, I think that it just everybody knew everybody. There was, as you say, this explosion of just passion for the blues, and you know, I'm just grateful to God that I got in there, because it was so great. But what happened with, so as far as the Dave thing went, I let's see, He'd sat in with Shaky Vicks, I'd sat in with some of his bands, and then basically there was an ad in the newspaper, and it's funny because it was...
Melody Maker?
It was the Melody Maker, you smart boy, you. And the funny thing was that even though it was, 71, at the time I was playing with another band that was...
Black Cat Bones?
No, it was after Black Cat Bones. In fact, I've been trying to get this together in the correct order. Mm-hmm. I left Black Cat Bones. I remember asking a friend once that had known me a long time, you know, why did I leave this band? Why did I leave that band?
Right.
And they said to me, because you were trying to improve yourself. Now, you know, I don't remember that per se, but I guess I was always, you know, I'd reach a point where I couldn't see the band going any further than it was.
Right.
And if it wasn't that, it was sometimes there was a lot of personnel changes. I was playing with a couple of guys, a bass player called Mick Hawksworth and Tony Fernandez on drums. We had a band that basically never got out the living room, but we had a hell of a time. And we were playing. We kind of just respected each other as musicians, and just had some wonderful jams, which really set me up to expand my musical horizons. And anyway, that band sort of fell to pieces, and that was when I looked in the newspaper into the Melody Maker. And the interesting thing was, it was like 71, and believe it or not, the blues boom was starting to fade a little. You know, one time you'd look in there and there was like lots of ads for guitar players and stuff, and all of a sudden it was a different genre of music, whatever that was. I can't remember what it was.
Progressive stuff, probably, yeah.
It was what?
Progressive stuff?
Yeah, I guess a lot of that, yeah, probably was. You're dead right, it was, because ELP and stuff.
Right.
And you're right, that's what it was. I just saw this one ad for wanted blues guitarist, professional band, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so I called up and I started talking, and the guy was very secretive about the whole thing. And, you know, and then about 20 minutes into this conversation, I was getting really bored, and I said, "Dave, is that you?" And he said, "Yeah, Rod, is that you?"
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, and so anyway, I went down there, and audition with about 300 other guitar players or whatever it was. They had about 3 days of rehearsals. It was, so it wasn't like a favoritism thing. I mean, I heard some guitar players that were down there that I nearly walked out of the rehearsal room.
Do you remember any of their names?
No, I really don't.
Yeah.
But they were just like, wow, these guys are incredible. But I think the advantage that I had was that I always preferred. My influences are very different to how I play. You know what I mean? Like if someone's like a real Clapton fan or something, they play like Clapton.
Right.
And I was more. My passion was sort of very much in folk blues and folk blues, country blues, and of course Elmore James and Tampa Red and stuff. But I couldn't. I somehow sort of developed my own style. So when I went in there to do the audition, they were pretty tired as well, and so I said, well, can I suggest some stuff? And I did a nice sort of up ones, and which sort of woke everybody up, and then I just said, do you mind if I play slide? And they said, no, go right ahead. And I think one of the reasons I wanted to play slide was because I was trembling so much. Because I had respected the musicians that were in that band, via their Savoy Brown.
Yeah, they were just about to take off with that particular version of the band, and
are you dead right or what? Yeah. Hey, you're 3 for 3, Greg.
Well, I caught. That's one of the reasons I got onto Foghat at the ground floor, because I went and saw the Savoy Brown lineup with Lonesome Dave just after Yulden left at the Fillmore East in New York City in 1970.
Yeah, right.
And they were just awesome. And by the time, they came around to do a new album, like they were gone. And I'm reading now that these guys knew at that time that they were leaving during that tour,
Yeah.
And I had actually heard a release like the album before that Tony and Dave and Roger and also Bob Hall, when they were doing the Blue Matter album, they did this thing before Foghat days, which was like rockabilly almost.
Right, yeah.
And that's why I found that interesting. Like they when they put that ad in, they asked for a blues guitar player, and they got one. It was a nice mix.
Well, I think I think what happened with that was, you're talking about Warren Phillips and the Rockets, right?
Right.
Yeah. No, actually, all right. My version is slightly different.
Well, yours is the right version then. I'm just guessing.
No, I wasn't there.
Oh, okay.
No, that wasn't me. I think what happened was they were recording, and they just had some spare time in the afternoon one day, and Kim wasn't around, and they just sort of knocked out those rockabilly things for fun.
Right.
And I guess it's still a cult album. I don't know if you can still get it. I guess you can.
Yeah, it's around. I mean, it's out of print, but it's around.
Yeah.
You can't find it. It's more of a novelty thing. The Foghat stuff was just the real deal stuff. This was just, they were fooling around, like you said.
Oh, yeah. It was just, fun thing, and, that was that. But, because I think I must have joined directly after that.
Yeah, and ironic thing about that is that the Savoy Brown, the new lineup, went on at that time and stepped it up commercially, did their street corner talking, and Foghat kind of laid low in the weeds. They did the first album, which was excellent, but it was like that rock and roll album, bang, you guys just took off, and you were filling arenas soon after that.
With the rock and roll album?
Well, just after that, yeah.
It's so funny you should mention that, because, the first album, I Just Want to Make Love to You was the first hit and the first real heavy radio play.
Right.
And so that was when we came over in the summer of 72. And then I guess in the winter of 72, 73, we did the rock and roll album. And the irony with that was the only one that never went gold, at least while I was in the band.
Is that right?
Yeah, and if anybody asked me my favorite album, I generally say it was that one.
Well, I'd agree with you.
That or Stone Blue are my two personal favorites. But I thought it had, because they had What a Shame on it, didn't it? Yeah, I think it did.
Yeah.
What a Shame and Ride, Ride, Ride. And, you know, I love those songs. And, yeah, I don't know. It just, you know this business. You never can tell.
Yeah.
You know?
There's no... plus, at that time there was all these things that were starting to happen. It was just changing a lot. The landscape, you know. I mean, disco was on the horizon.
That's right.
But you guys survived all of that, you know, which is really cool. I think you guys went right through the disco and all those awkward years in our history.
Well, yes, those tumultuous years. Yeah, I think what happened was that you know, I mean, I guess you could look at it that way. You also look at it in the way that, like, that people needed us more.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Because, you know, but I think there's room for both, and you know, I mean, I think, you know, the thing with you know, the first sort of 8 Foghat albums were, you know, the blues-based feel. You know, I mean, I'm just so thrilled that blues seems to have taken hold and will hopefully, I don't think, disappear anymore, because there is so much good music from the past, and I think that's why we were successful in the sense that it was honest music.
Well, I like the opportunity I have here at this station. We're able to play whatever we want. There's no playlist. And just recently it was Peter Green's birthday, so I played all of Peter Green's, you know, Fleetwood Mac stuff and session stuff he did from back then with, like, Eddie Boyd and people like that.
Right.
And I was getting younger people calling up and responding to that, how great that was. You know, they had never heard it before. So I agree with you. You know, it's just got good is good, and good doesn't, you know, have a shelf life on it. If it's good, it's good.
That's right. But it is amazing how it you know, almost just, I mean, back in the 80s there wasn't, you know, I tried to put a blues band. There wasn't a blues club in New York, I don't think, in the 80s.
Yeah. Well, you know, I want to talk to you about New York and all of that in a moment here. Mm-hmm. I'd like to play What a Shame, what we were just talking about.
Well, I'd love to. Before you play it, though,
yes.
Is that off the rock and roll album, CD itself?
It's actually I'm cheating here. It's the Essentials, but it's derived from that. Yes.
Oh no! I just wondered. I was telling somebody a story once, which I'll tell you after. I'll tell you before, I guess. Pete Townsend, who I admire greatly, came into the studio when we were mixing that, and asked, who did the solo on that. And I was very, very shy in those days, and sort of whimpered me or something. And he goes, "Oh, great solo!" And I always was very, very touched by the fact that he, put himself out to speak to a kid about, that. And it was on in a club one day, and I said, "Oh, this was the solo that I was telling you about," and it was so edited, there was hardly anything there.
Oh my!
So I'm just hoping that we got the non-edited version.
Well, I'm looking down, and it's 3 minutes and 27 seconds. So I'm biting my lip here.
Oh, don't worry. That was another one of the copies we're going to try to get you.
Okay.
We'll let you know at the end.
Okay.
See you at the other end.
Okay.
All right.
Rod Price from Foghat, a special guest here, and this is What a Shame from their second album, Rock and Roll. What a shame, from the rock and roll album, Foghat. And with us is Rod Price, formerly of Foghat. Rod, that's the edited version, I imagine, right? Excuse me.
Pardon?
I'm sorry, Rod. That's the edited version? That's
the edited version.
Yes.
And I dare the person who did it to speak to me.
My God, what were they thinking, you know?
They did that on so much stuff. I mean, you know, they just sort of cut out solos. I mean, I thought that's what, you know, that was a large part of the band.
I'll say. You know, I have a version. It's a little rough, but it's from the Trod Nostril Studios in '75. It's a 17-minute version. I Just Want to Make Love to You, and it's just out of this world. You know?
Oh, yeah, that was in Connecticut.
Right. Oh, you know, and that brings me to the point what we were just talking about. You started out in England, but when did you move to America? You moved to New York area, didn't you?
Right, yeah, Long Island. But it was main reason was we were sort of going back and forth and transporting all this equipment, and just realized that we weren't really doing any work in England, and all of the work was in the States. So really the move started, I would say, in, you know, the end of 72, 73.
Port Jefferson?
Among other places, in that area.
Yeah, I grew up out there on Long Island, and I remember when people had told me, this was a rumor at the time, matter of fact. My brother told me this, also a big Foghat fan, but he told me that Lonesome Dave was in the PTA in Port Jefferson. I said, no way.
Well, you know, that's the thing. It's image.
Yeah.
Image is sometimes is boy. I mean, you can go a million ways with this, but you know, I think that. People have to realize that sometimes they don't want to realize, but you know, we try at least to in some ways to lead regular lives.
Yeah, well, you know, that was the whole fantasy thing, you know, being a young man and just seeing, you know, the whole rock star thing, and not realizing, you know, that you guys how hard a work that was, and you know, the whole lifestyle, you know, being on the road like that and everything.
Oh, it certainly burnt me out at the end of the 70s. I was just shot, you know.
Well, you toured with a lot of all the biggest bands back then. I'm reading about Humble Pie that you toured with
right.
a few times.
My personal favorite, by the way.
Yeah, well, Stevie Marriott, right?
Absolutely.
Talk about a true rock and roll character. You know, there's his legend lives on the internet. There's people all over the world talking about you know, that whole experience.
Well, I'll tell you something, Greg. When we toured with them, they, I think, we supported them, so we went on first. And when it was the only time when I was on tour that I would go out into the audience and go get a seat and sit up at the back.
Wow.
Because you know, people that sort of get backstage passes and sit on the side of the stage and think it's great. It's not really, because you really need to be out front. And so I would go out there, and it would just be an absolute pleasure to listen to the whole band. You know, the whole band was just so great.
Yeah.
And you know, I can picture Stevie just as clear as yesterday. You know, just up there, because he was just such a powerful singer, a powerful personality.
Yes, he was. Yes.
And you know, I mean, he'd just stand there, and the sweat would just be pouring off him. It was like a fountain, you know.
I used to love the way he would sing between songs to the audience, you know,
yes.
like the intros and stuff.
Well, I think if you realize you got a great voice like that and you can do it, you know, go for it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he just. It's such a tragedy what happened to him.
Oh my God, yeah, it was.
As to so many, of course, but that one really hit me hard, because he was just great. I kind of get choked up thinking about it, you know.
Yeah, well, you know, the that whole Humble Pie experience, the people that are rediscovering it and or discovering for the first time, as your band too. And it goes back to what we spoke of before, and the reason I believe is just the passion behind the music that you were making at the time.
Oh, precisely, yeah, and really pushing the envelope within the framework of the songs. And I think that was another thing. There was always a great deal of I think you have, especially when you're doing other people's stuff, you got to respect what they put down initially, and you got to follow that spirit of what they were trying to do. And Pie certainly did that with a vengeance.
Yeah,
they were great.
I remember seeing. Well, I saw them a few times at the Fillmore, too, but there was a place called the Academy of Music over on, you remember that? That's where I saw your band the first time.
That's right.
And remember they had those little lights that you kind of walked out? It was like a little... And I remember Steve Marriott. Matter of fact, that might have been their special thing. And there was these light bulbs on this walkway that they would walk out into the center of the audience.
Yeah.
And I just saw some old pictures of that recently, and... it's just what you were speaking about, the veins sticking out of his neck, and he's just, and he wasn't a big guy,
No, he was well, that's what made it even more special. Yeah, he was a teeny little guy, but he was just all muscle, all gristle, skin and bone and gristle.
Well, this is great stuff. I'm enjoying the heck out of this.
Me too.
And we got a couple of underwriters and some station IDs to take care of, and we'll be back with our very special guest, Rod Price. So.
And thank you, underwriters.
Yes, absolutely. You gotta love that. I'll tell you a little more about our station when we come back. I think you kind of like what we're doing up here, but we'll be right back.
Okay, deal.
Programming is brought to you in part by the Gristmill Cafe. The Gristmill Cafe features specialty coffees, cappuccinos, espressos, lattes, and premium teas. They serve fresh breads each morning and have daily luncheon specials available.
On November 16th, it's Jody Price. On November 23rd, it's the Collin Brothers.
They are located on Lenape Road in Andover in the historic Andover Grist Mill. For more information, their number is 973-786-6400 or on the web, gristmillcafe.com.
Hey, I'm Bobby Whitlock.
And I'm Kim Carmel.
And you're listening to WNTI
91.9
FM.
Hackettstown, New Jersey.
Oh,
exactly.
Hackettstown, New Jersey.
Most beautiful place on the planet.
Freeform programming made possible from a grant provided from George Akehurst Dryburgh Music, the home of Tempest Studio on Route 46, next to the Warren County Library in Hackettstown, offering music instructions on all instruments for folks of all ages, including Suzuki and Kindermusic programs. Dryburgh Studios, 908-813-2626, JORG at eclipse.net for Dryburgh Studios, 813-2626.
Okay, we're back. My name is Greg. The show is Rocket Science, and it's a special show tonight. Rod Price calling in from Roanoke, Virginia, and just sharing a wealth of his wonderful experiences he's had over the years, and plus all the new exciting stuff that's going on around Rod Price these days. Now, Rod, we were talking about venues and stuff like that around the area here.
Sure, yeah.
Were there any particular favorite venues that stick out in your mind from that period?
Yeah, from the 70s?
Yes. I mean, you guys played them all. You played the little ones, you played the big ones.
Yeah, I mean, I think first of all, the big ones you can't turn down. The Coliseums and stuff. I mean, just from a financial standpoint. But I think we're always far more comfortable in a 2,000-seat. I mean, something like the Academy of Music.
Mm-hmm.
And the other favorite, of course, was the Warehouse down in New Orleans. But that was a dangerous place to go.
I've heard stories.
Yeah, well, we used to have these really intelligent tour managers that said, well, you boys better spend it, we'll take a day off after New Orleans. The only problem was they still left us in New Orleans on the day off. So
There's a classic story about that place. The Grateful Dead and Peter Green's Fleetwood Mac played there for 2 nights.
yeah.
And the second night, the Grateful Dead got busted. So the third night, Fleetwood Mac did a benefit for them. So,
No, that's a crazy place. But yeah, I mean, I've always preferred the smaller audiences. You know, the Coliseums. I mean, you know, that's sort of once in a lifetime thing, and you know, it's rather like playing to just a big black hole. You know.
Yeah.
So I much prefer these days the smaller places. You know, the blues festivals are fun.
Yeah.
But you know, I like the intimacy. I really do.
Well, with the did you play in Japan at all when you guys were?
No, did not.
No.
No, unfortunately, it was. We should have, but it. You know, a lot of things that we were planning on doing never came.
Yeah, I love this picture of the Fog Hat plane. It wasn't a plane; it was a jet, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. How cool is that?
Well, I don't know. It was. I tell you, you couldn't stretch your legs in that. I know that.
Oh.
It was pretty small. No, that was just one of the brilliant ideas of management at the time to get more work out of the band. And you know, it was like, gee, base in Chicago for like a month or 6 weeks and fly out every night.
Yeah.
You know, but because the tour buses weren't as good in those days. You know, tour buses today are comfortable, but sometimes they were not at all comfortable.
Yeah, they're very nice these days. You're right.
Yeah.
Now, you guys were on the North Shore, Long Island there, and I remember a radio station out there. I forget, that was in Connecticut that we could get.
Oh, yeah.
And you guys had a pretty good relationship with those fellas over there.
That's right.
And I guess you would hop on the ferry there, or will you guys have your own boats and just...
No,
go across, huh?
no boats.
No boats, huh?
You mean we actually went there a lot?
Well, you know, that's my perception. I mean, the reality of it could have been something completely different.
Yeah,
but,
I think actually I got a feeling that was. I mean, yeah, but I think that particular DJ whose name may come to mind in a minute.
Right.
He used to come down to Long Island a lot.
Yeah.
And yeah, I know the guy you're talking about. And then of course we did play Hartford and New Haven quite a bit.
Right. Well, my impression at the time was that you guys were in England, and so when I would turn on the radio and like you guys were just like up the road, that was very exciting, to hear that,
Yeah. Well, people still sort of say that to me, what are you doing here? And I say, look, I got to be somewhere.
Well, you're in New Hampshire now. That's a beautiful state.
Well, it is. I was going to move to Connecticut, but the builder let me down there. Or the building fell down, one or the other. And then let's see. Then I moved up to New Hampshire. I'd always liked it up there. And at the time, I really wasn't feeling like sort of going back out on the road. And needless to say, I am these days. So it's a bit of a stretch, but it's a good place for family and got good friends up there, and it's nice and quiet. And so it's a good place for me to write and get a little solace.
Good.
So,
well, this.
And may I say hello to my family and my friends who are listening?
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. Hi, guys. I'll be home before Christmas.
Well, I was talking about the general area here, and a few years back, you did that reunion CD with the other fellas,
right.
Return to the Boogeyman, which is an excellent CD.
Thank you.
And around that time, you were also not too far from where we are in a place called the Showplace Studios. You did the Peter Green Rattlesnake guitar. Mm-hmm. And what an interesting lineup that was throughout the CD. But your particular cuts with, of course, Lonesome Dave, Southside Johnny.
Yeah, it was. It was interesting. I had spoken to Arnie Goodman, who. Actually, it's funny because that's a double album, isn't it?
Yes. Well, a part of it was in England, and part of it was here in New Jersey.
Right.
Rory Gallagher's last recorded work.
That's right. God bless him. Yeah. And the funny thing about that was that I was a big Fleetwood Mac fan, of course. How could you not be?
Did you ever meet Peter Green back there in the day?
Yeah. I had more of a connection with him through Duster Bennett.
Oh, okay, Duster Bennett.
Because they were good friends. But anyway, the list was given to me, and of the songs that by Rory Gallagher, Ian Anderson,
Yeah.
So we didn't really get to do necessarily the songs that I wanted to do.
What would you have wanted to do if you got the first one?
Stop Messing Around.
Oh, okay. Well, Dave's old friend glommed that one, Kim Simmons.
Yeah, Kim grabbed that one. I know. Yeah, I know, and he did a good job because
Yes, he did.
He did it acoustically, which was smart. Kind of like Love That Burns, because I didn't want to take on a tender form like Peter Green had because he had such a beautiful touch. So I decided to just sort of go the other route. Yeah, Southside. By the way, he's a heck of a harp player.
Sure is.
And I don't think a lot of people know that. But no, I enjoyed. What was it? Yeah, Love That Burns. What was the other one?
If You Be My Baby.
If You Be My Baby, yeah.
And Baby When the Sun Goes Down.
And Baby When the Sun Goes Down, which was really Southside's track. Yeah, he asked me if I could play on that. Yeah, it was a little chaotic because I said, I said if we want to do this, we really need horns, and so Arnie was good enough to get the horns in, and then we had Southside John. We almost had too much instrumentation on it.
It's not a big place, yeah.
Yeah, but nevertheless, I mean, I think it's it's a good piece of work. I personally wish, Dave and I had spoken numerous times about doing a blues album together, and that was the closest we ever got to doing it.
Wow. Well, I'd like to play one of those selections. I'll leave it up to you. I Love That Burns or If You Be My Baby. Any preference there?
Oh, boy.
I'll put it on you.
I was about to put it on you. Well,
you can't go wrong, in my opinion.
All right, we'll do If You Be My Baby.
Okay.
All righty.
And this is from the tribute Rattlesnake Guitar from a few years back. Let me see here. That is track number 7, I believe.
Let's hope so.
Yeah. Now it's on me, right?
Now it's on you, yeah.
Okay. Well, this is featuring Rod Price, Dave Peverett, Harvey Brooks, Mo Potts on drums.
Mo played on all of the cuts on my West 4 album.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh. Well,
yeah.
Cool. Well, we'll get a little taste of what that's going to sound like then. Well,
you get a little taste of his drumming, which is magnificent.
Okay. Well, I'll see you on the other side of this, Rod.
Okie dokie.
Okay. Baby, Be My Baby. Excuse me. If You Be My Baby.
If You Be My Baby.
Oh, okay. We'll be right back. If You Be My Baby from the Rattlesnake Guitar Peter Green tribute a few years back, featuring Rod Price on a scorching guitar there, Rod.
Thank you.
And Dave was certainly in fine form that day, too.
He certainly was. I haven't heard that for a long time. Sometimes it's good to get away from stuff. Yeah, I enjoyed that.
Yeah, that's one of the standout cuts, in my opinion.
Well, thank you.
Now, when you got back together in '94, you did like some real rockers, and then you did some acoustic stuff in the middle, which a very interesting version of "Take Me Down to the River," and
Right.
and then you toured a little. You did the Road Cases was a live album.
Yeah, right.
And what now? Were your plans before poor Dave got sick and to continue with that, or what was there anything in the works, or what was going on before Dave got sick?
I think, let's see, right, the live album was done. My feeling was, it was mixed. It took a long time to build the band back up.
Right.
And I guess the truthful answer is I wasn't even sure. Well, that's a very good question, because I'm not sure. I'm not sure if anybody knew what was going to happen.
Right.
At that point, we were on the road, and it was going along. But I really, me personally, I felt like it was almost like, and I know some people are not going to like what I'm going to say, but it was almost like we were doing it all over again. Right. And I didn't want to do it all over again. I wanted to I just wanted to do, as a musician, I wanted to do different things.
That's why you probably did the acoustic stuff in there, I imagine, to mix it up a little.
Well, that was a suggestion. I mean, it actually was one of my most enjoyable sessions, because we had some other players on there that unfortunately didn't get credited, but to sort of help Dave out, I had another rhythm guitarist, just to so Dave could concentrate on the singing. Dave was playing as well, and because we had a pianist, and we had two drummers and a percussionist, or a percussionist and two drummers. I can't remember exactly but I remember that the evening in New York City that we did that was one of the most memorable, because it was very relaxed, and just a great deal of fun. And I love playing dobro, so it was just a wonderful evening. But as far as what was happening in the future, I don't think anybody knew. And then, of course, Dave got sick.
Yeah.
And sort of everything went downhill from there.
Yeah. Well, I get the feeling that I'm not a musician, but I've been speaking with musicians, and they kind of tell me that it kind of comes to them. They don't chase it; it kind of comes to them. Mm-hmm. And I guess that's what was happening at that time with you.
Yes. Yeah. I that's one way of putting it. It's. I couldn't keep doing the same songs every single night. I wanted. One thing I do when I go on stage is I always try to play better than the night before.
Uh-huh.
That's like just a given. But at the same time, there was a lot of stuff that really had to be done, and the only person that could do it was me. It had to be done by me, and it wasn't going to be a democracy when it came to doing this album. So it was just time. It was time for a move. It's ironic that things happened the way they did, but I think a musician should challenge himself continuously, and it was time to take on some stuff that, quite frankly, I didn't have the nerve to take on before.
Oh well,
Yeah.
This Open album.
Yeah.
Which is one of the more recent ones that you have from 2000, I guess, year 2000?
That's right.
Now, I was speaking about this cut I'd like to play next, which is the only one that you wrote on that album, though, as we heard before, you certainly put your stamp on all of these songs. That Sitting on Top of the World is just beautiful. You know,
That's my baby. That is my baby.
Yeah.
I love that song like crazy.
Well, you know, I was going to play Dynaflow, but this is a very flexible, free-form atmosphere.
You can play them both.
Okay. Well, you know.
That's Dynaflight, by the way.
Yes,
right.
yes.
That's okay.
I'm thinking of like an old Buick or something.
No. I had a band called Dynaflow Blues. That's where you're getting that from.
Oh, well,
that was
okay.
after Shaky Vicks.
Really? Well,
Yeah.
you know, I wanted to ask you something quick about that, because that Black Cat Bones,
Yeah.
a short-lived group, but a very cool album, I think.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's some great stuff on that. I'm partial to actually the cuts that you wrote. Which would be Feeling Good and...
I didn't write that.
Not that, excuse me. Coming Back and Sylvester's Blues and That Good-Looking Woman all kind of stand out there.
I don't know. That was... Yeah. There's some good sounds on there. I remember hearing it not that long ago, and thinking it wasn't as bad as I thought.
Oh, really? Well, I'm just a hardcore British blues fan, and that era is...
Oh, well, that would fit into that category then.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But the interesting part I was leading up to, that was like originally Paul Kossoff was in that band, and they left to form Free.
And Simon Kirk, yeah.
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 And had you had any run-ins with Paul Kossoff back then?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. Good ones, though.
Oh, well, I didn't mean it that way, yeah.
I can tell you I had about some run-ins with some other people.
Well, how do we all?
Paul and Simon Kirk. Simon is just one of the greatest guys around. He was then, and he still is today. And in fact, when I left Black Cat Bones, he put me up in his apartment for a while, because he was then with Free, and he was off touring Europe and stuff.
Oh.
And Paul, I spoke to. We spoke. Paul was like many musicians, especially I think even so many more English musicians, very quiet, very introvert, and he was. I think that was the thing. Just to back up for a second, I think there was a lot of pressure in those days for musicians, because we weren't doing. Oh dear, I'm going to get in trouble for this. We weren't doing pop stuff. We weren't doing Beach Boys stuff. You know what I mean?
Right.
We were trying to play blues. We were white boys from London trying to, learn the masters.
Mm.
And I think, a lot of people used to say, oh, nobody ever used to talk to each other and stuff. And I think that those that didn't talk was not because they didn't want to, but because they were so shy. And they were just, I know I was one of them. I know Paul Kossoff was pretty shy as well.
Very young men also.
Well, young men. It's a young, shy men that had been were being put on pedestals. And, the list. I mean, it goes on forever. When it got deep into the 70s, of people that just couldn't handle that.
Yeah.
Me included to an extent. And I had the privilege of going to see Free a lot, and
a brilliant band, weren't they?
I think because it's very interesting. We were talking about Humble Pie, and Free had the same kind of chutzpah, I guess you say.
Sure, Paul Rodgers, also a very charismatic, powerful singer.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And so I'd see those bands, and we'd play at festivals together. And Free were we were great. They really did something that nobody else had done. And I'm not sure. Are you aware of the Free book, The Heavy Load?
No, I'm not.
Well, there's a book called Heavy Load that was written by a guy by the name of Todd Smith and a co-author. I'm sorry, I don't remember his name. And it's a beautiful book, and it's the story of Free. And one comment that was made, which I made, and pretty much every other musician that was interviewed for that book said, that they were just so unique. Nobody else was doing what they were doing.
No.
I mean, you got a singer like Paul Rodgers, you got a bass player like Andy, you got a drummer like Simon Kirk, who to me is like one of the top 2-3 drummers in the world, and you got Paul Kossoff.
Brilliant guitar player, yeah.
Yeah, so and they work, and that's the thing. They work well together, and that, you know, remember that was a 3-piece. I mean, well, it was a 4-piece, but you know what I mean.
Right. They threw Rabbit in later, right?
Right. But you know, I mean, you can have a band that has that much quality musicians in it who, number two, respect each other. Then something like that'll happen, and that's probably why it doesn't happen very often.
Well, yeah.
You know, but I mean, they were
huge in England, and then they became huge here. But they were even bigger in England, weren't they?
Yeah. I think there was from everything I remember, they were big in England from day one.
Right.
You know, even before the hit, because they were just, you know, they were a smidge above. Well, not above, but they weren't doing straight blues. If they were doing blues, they were doing like Cream's version of Crossroads. You know what I mean?
I saw an early version of Paul Kossoff on a Champion Jack Dupree album. It just blows my mind. I forget the name of the album.
Yeah.
But he's Champion Jack was just a character, and he would go. I think it was a song about whiskey or something. And Paul Kossoff breaks into this lead, and Champion Jack goes, "Boy, that boy must be drinking," you know. And he's just like hammering away. It's just a very cool album.
Yeah.
67, I think, or that, and about that time.
Yeah.
Very young.
Yeah. Oh no. He was way ahead of. He was technically way ahead of a bunch of us who were on one level, but Paul had already reached that level 2 or level 3 or whatever it was. You know, but no, he was great. He was great.
Well, Rod, I can't thank you enough for sharing these stories and stuff like that. It's just a big thrill, especially for a person like me who just was, you know, just remembers all my heroes. You know, you're talking about all my heroes here. You know.
Well, it's my pleasure. I'm enjoying it immensely.
Yeah. Well, let's hear something from my current hero here, and that would be you, Rod Price.
Oh, thank you, sir.
And I used to call it Dynaflow, but until Rod told me it was Dynaflight. This is from his most recent year 2000 release, Open, Dynaflight, Rod Price. Rod Price, Open Dynaflight, the name of that song. Very nice, Rod.
Well, thank you. You know, I haven't heard that since a long time.
That's always amazes me. You know that you haven't. You know.
Well, I tell you what it is. You know, you work on something. Actually, that worked out great. That particular song, because the arrangement was a little complicated, and I had a great rhythm section, and it was one of those, because that whole album was done in 2 days.
Wow. Really?
And we kind of jumped in on that, and I gave them the arrangement once, and I thought, my God, this is not gonna work, you know. And they just grabbed it and they went with it, and so that was sort of basically a first take.
Now that sound of that slide there.
That's not a slide. That's regular guitar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a very cool sound. How do you achieve that?
Now, should I tell you?
Well, I'm a novice here, obviously, asking you a question like that. But it's just a very
well. Should I give my secrets away to the world? Is what I'm saying. Yeah, I can tell you.
Okay.
I tell you, you've been good to me, so. No, actually, it's just a chorus. It's just a bass chorus. And I just turned it all the way up, which generally, you know, is what I was really trying to get and didn't have was, you know, like a vibrato, like a Fender vibrato kind of thing.
Right.
Didn't have that, so I used that, but it came out, you know, it turned out pretty good anyway.
Now, your new release coming up, West 4.
Yeah.
Is there anything similar to what we just heard along that vein, or what are we looking at with this new release?
What are we looking at? Damn good question. Okay, 12 or 13 tracks, okay? Two that are not original. The two that are not original, number one is Lowell George's China White.
Wow.
I did an instrumental version of that on slide. And also Eddie Cochran's Something Else that I did instrumentally. And reason being for that was because Eddie Cochran was one of my first influences after I got into blues, you know, because he was a rock and roller, but he was a great guitar player and a great songwriter for that matter.
People forget how good he really was. Big influence on a lot of people in the early 60s there.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he...
Summertime Blues, right?
Summertime Blues, there you go.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that particular track is what we call the comical track, because not only because I was trying to play his words on slide.
Oh.
You know, because, you know, looky here, boom, boom, you know. So, but that turned out real good. And then the rest would be all original, and ranges from, I have two slow blueses on there. West 4 is very much an up-tempo. It's a sort of inspiration of my childhood. Up-tempo shuffle with horns. Isn't it frustrating to just discuss what these things are?
Yeah. Well,
but then I did a couple. I did a tribute to Duster Bennett, who was a blues singer player in London. I'm not sure.
He was an amazing guy. I kind of got to him through Peter Green,
right.
And I dug up some old films. They used to call him a one-man band.
He was.
He would have the drums and the harmonica and the guitar, and what else did he do?
Hi-hat.
And the hi-hat, and it's just a great acoustic blues he did.
Well, it wasn't really acoustic; it was electric.
Was it electric?
Yeah. Yeah. And you say you got film of him?
Yeah, on an old.
Is that a Japanese thing?
I got it from a friend overseas, and it's dealing with the British blues, and it starts off with I'm gonna shoot myself for missing that, but what's his name from? They do all the benefits when he died. These great concerts over there. Stevie Marriott played with them a little bit. Not Graham Bond, the other fellow. I did it to you now.
Long John. Long John?
No, not Long John.
No,
he's one of the other.
Alexis Corner.
Alexis Corner. Thank you. I had a brain cramp there.
Yeah, sorry.
But it started out with him, and it was going through like the late '60s there, and it showed the Who and Peter Green's Fleetwood Mac, and they showed a pretty good spot on Duster Bennett. He was pretty much in the forefront back then.
Well, I met Duster. I saw him at a Fleetwood Mac gig at a place called the Nag's Head in London, which was a little...
I've heard of that.
Yeah, that's where we all played. Everybody
Was that
played
Savoy Brown's club that they rented out upstairs?
No, it wasn't. It was nobody's. It was the pub's club. You know?
Okay.
But we all played there, and I saw Duster. The first time I saw Duster was there, and we were all kind of like giggling like little kids because this guy was setting up this bass drum and a hi-hat, and we're going, what's this guy, a busker, and, and then he started playing, and everybody went, whoops, sorry, I apologize. I ran into Duster Bennett about 2 weeks later in a music store, and this is when I had Dynaflow Blues.
Right.
And I said, hey, I saw you a couple of weeks ago. I said, you were just incredible. And he was very, very humble man, just a beautifully humble man. And he said, so what are you doing? I said, well, I got, Dynaflow Blues, and but our harp player's just left. He's gone off to college, and, So Duster Bennett said, well, can I help you out? So I kind of, after they picked me up off the floor.
Yeah.
And so I got to know him very well, and he'd come to my house, and I'd go to his house. And I got to tell you right now, Duster Bennett was one of the people who showed me a few guitar licks that I could never understand.
Really?
Yeah, so I'm always grateful. But more than that, he was a really decent Christian man who was just a really loving kind of person. So I've been wanting to do so on this West 4 album, I did a song called Duster's Prayer, and took just a little bit of something that he had done, turned it into more of an orchestrated part with a choir and everything, and it turned out beautifully.
I can't wait to hear it.
Well, I can't wait for everybody out there who's listening.
Yeah. Well, next week we'll be certainly playing some of that on a Thanksgiving show. I just can't wait. The other things about this open album, the selections that you picked, they're all, I think it's an interesting selections that you picked. Some Big Bill Broonzy, Sitting on Top of the World, the Howlin' Wolf, right?
Right, the Howlin' Wolf version, yeah.
Yeah, and of course, Robert Johnson.
Can't leave him out, can you?
No. And Sonny Boy Williamson, some a pretty representative sampling there. And,
well, I felt so.
Yeah, and you put your stamp on it, like I had mentioned earlier. I've never heard a version of the Stumble like that. It's just like you spoke of, that you have the framework that you respect, but you certainly put your own unique, which was that whole British blues thing. I thought from the beginning, I had never heard blues like that before. Right.
Well, I hope we didn't offend too many people.
Oh well, I don't see how you could.
Well, we've I've played with. I had the good fortune to play with Muddy Waters, and
is that right?
Yeah, and actually backing up, Champion Jack Dupree, we used to back him as well in England.
Yeah?
That's around it. Yeah, the same.
He was on that same video that I spoke of, and what a wonderful man he must have been. He was just so much fun.
Yeah, he was. A little intimidating to a 17-year-old kid like myself.
Oh well, yeah.
Who had just sort of heard blues from the gutter a week before, and then was told that he was playing, that I was playing with him.
Wow.
I'm like, oh my God. But I think in those days I was so young, I didn't know what nervous was.
You didn't know any better, yeah.
Yeah, so that was great. But yeah, there was some just wonderful people, and Champion Jack was living in England because he couldn't get arrested. Well, it's probably the only thing you could get.
You could get in America.
In America, arrested and beaten up.
Sad story about some of those fellows. Eddie Boyd was one of them too.
Right.
Just but he did come back shortly before he died, I guess, and made peace with his country.
Yeah.
But there was a concert that you guys did in the 70s at the Academy Music, just a legendary concert. Do you know the one I'm talking about?
Well, with Muddy and Honey Boy Up.
Everybody was there.
Yeah.
I heard a very bad tape of that. It was like off a personal cassette recorder and everything. And you know what? The performance just shines through that, the lack of quality. I mean, the people, that was some night.
That was a night that I will never forget.
It's a benefit, I believe.
It was a benefit for the New York Public Library.
1973-ish, 4-ish, somewhere?
no.
Maybe a little later?
No, 6-ish, 7-ish.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you guys were major stars at that time.
Well, I guess so, yeah. But you know, it was a great excuse to play with all our heroes. And the only person that couldn't make it was Willie Dixon, because he had just had, on a surgery on his leg. He, had his leg amputated.
Wow. Who else was there?
All right, let me see if I can get it right. Muddy Waters, John Lee Hooker, Eddie Kirkland, Honey Boy Edwards, Paul Butterfield, Johnny Winter.
Who wasn't there? Probably be easier to say.
Robert Johnson.
My goodness, man. Was that recorded?
It was recorded, and it was, it wasn't video in those days. It was filmed. It still has the opportunity to be released. It's interesting, that sound problem that you talk about.
Yes.
We've had that on other copies, and we've even had it with the master.
Oh, boy.
But I think, of course, in these days of zeros and ones, we can probably fix that.
Oh, well, that's something to look forward to.
Oh, it is. But I tell you, like you said, even with that, the audio getting a little slurry, it's a magnificent piece of work. And I don't know if it's a magnificent piece of work, but it's a magnificent evening.
Absolutely.
And then also, and then a few weeks later, Willie Dixon invited the band to his house in Chicago, which was probably, when I said, that was like one of the greatest nights of my life, but I think that the greatest night was
hanging with Willie
at his house having dinner.
Wow.
And his family, and they were just so gracious and so sweet to us,
I had a fellow, he's a local musician, he's up and coming in my opinion, his name's Peter Karp, and he told me about, in the early 80s, playing at some kind of function, and Willie Dixon, and I'm trying to think of who else it was that were there, and there were all these luminaries there, and Willie Dixon went off to the side and got a little paper plate and sat down on this little bucket or chair or something, and very unassuming, and sat there and ate. And Peter was he's a young kid. He went over there and hung out and ate with them, and he just brought away from that was the just the genuine how real he was. He was just a real person. There was nothing. He didn't really want to hear about being a star or anything like that. And
not at all.
Yeah, and why that his music worked that's why his music worked the way it did, because it came straight from the heart, and there was a lot there in his heart. It
came straight from the heart, and he was a very gentle man. And I spent the evening, with the band at his home in this little house on the south side of Chicago. After, one of the things that he liked about us was that we had credited him for I Just Want to Make Love to You, as opposed to certain other people who we won't mention who didn't credit Willie. And
that was the first time a lot of people had ever heard that song.
Yeah. Right. And he was just wonderful. I mean, we just, I sat around the piano with his kids playing guitar, and Etta James dropped in for coffee and cake after dinner. I mean, these things are just, priceless. I mean, what do you say?
My goodness.
What do you say when Etta James drops in, with a big cigarette hanging out of her mouth and says, got any coffee and cake? It's like you're living in some kind of blues Disney World.
Yes. Well, when you walk into the Stanhope in a few months and you look on the wall, there's pictures of many people, and one of them actually is Willie Dixon playing there. It's an undated photo, but The place has been around many years.
Yeah, I've heard so many good things about that place.
Yeah, and this is all real exciting stuff to me personally, because I've been a big fan for so many years, as a lot of people have. But I think also for people that might be just discovering Rod Price and may not know much about the whole Foghat thing, and actually before that, lots of great blues and roots and things like that.
Well, thank you. I think I've found a really good balance these days musically, and I'm still doing a lot of the open stuff. But the interesting thing about the West Four is that it's equally intertwinable, even as a three-piece, as opposed to a larger band that I actually had on the record.
So you're touring with the three-piece now? To be determined.
It's very funny. I work a lot in the Northwest, and we've worked with other guitar players, but the band I use out there, we just use a three-piece because it works so well. It was a little scary for me at first, but I found it easier than working with another guitarist or anything else. And also, the largest I would get with the new band for the West Four stuff would be a four-piece, which would include a B3, Hammond.
Cool.
But the thing about this music is that when I first did it, when I was first rehearsing it and stuff, I was doing it three-piece, and it was sounding good then. But as you well know, I mean, financially, you just cannot take a 20-piece band on the road.
Yeah.
It's a shame.
Well, you do a pretty good job with the guitar yourself, so I don't think that it's missed. I mean, you fill up the room pretty well with that guitar, with the sound.
Well, thank you. And that's what we found with the three-piece, that it actually worked out better.
I want to play. Time's getting short here, but I want to play a what you refer to as your baby.
Oh my, yeah.
Sitting on Top of the World.
Yeah, just lock the door and make sure there's no dogs around, because they'll try to get in.
They'll be howling, right?
Yeah.
Well, you got that guitar howling on this one, I'll say that. We're speaking with Rod Price, and he's graciously spent some time just sharing some great stories, Rod. And
my pleasure.
And we're celebrating his music and his new album, though we don't have it. We want to tease you till next week when we'll be playing a lot of that. And maybe that postman is listening somewhere, Rod, and he's saying, boy, I wish I would have got it there.
I think one of them's hiding right now.
He better. Well, okay. Well, let's listen to this. This is off of Rod Price's Open, Sitting on Top of the World. Very sweet there. Sitting on top of the world. Rod Price from his CD Open. And Rod, we've come to the end of our time, unfortunately. I could talk to you all evening.
I feel the same way.
Oh, you're a real gentleman, and
Well, thank you.
I really can't wait until you come up here, which would be January, February-ish. There's no solid date yet. But when you do, will you please stop in and say hello?
Yes, of course I will.
Well,
yeah.
Thank you so much, and thank you very much to Linda, okay?
Yes, well, thank Linda. And also, can I just say one other thing?
Absolutely.
To all of my friends out there that supported me over the years, I want to thank you guys because, when I meet these people in the clubs, I don't think they understand how much they mean to me. So I'd like them to know that. Also, one other thing is to my friends in Australia, I had a crash on my computer. I lost everything. So anybody who has not been in touch with me or thinks I haven't been in touch with them, just write back to www.rodprice.com.
That's right. I'm sorry, rodprice.com.
Yeah, rodprice.com, and just drop me off your email so I can get everything back in order.
Well,
okay.
Well, thanks so much, Rod, and we'll see you soon, and we'll be hearing your new stuff next week on this show.
Okay, I look forward to it, Greg.
Thanks again.
Thank you so much for a wonderful evening.
Oh, thank you. You're welcome.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Rod Price from Foghat. What a gentleman. My time's almost up here, and what a delight to see Al Stansberry on a Thursday night, coming up with his wonderful reggae show. And I'd like to leave you with something that went on here this last Saturday at the Whitney Chapel, Bobby Whitlock. And check out this version of a song that he actually played on, All Things Must Pass. So it was just a wonderful night. I don't know what else to say, but thank you, Bobby, and all those involved. Paul, Mel, Randy. I shouldn't have started names. Amanda, because I'm going to leave people out. All involved for a wonderful night. Take care and stick around for Al Stansberry Caribbean Vibes. Is that right, Al? Okay, I wasn't sure if it was the Little Eddie with Al sitting in, but it's wonderful music, so stick around, and thank you for listening tonight.
For
Underwriting provided in part by Mike Lamb and Lamb Printing, serving Hackettstown in the WNTI listening area with all your printing needs.
From black on white business cards to full color brochures. Family owned, community oriented, state of the art printer.
Phone number and directions from anywhere in the Freeform region is 908-852-0837. Fax is 813-0906. Or